When I was 12 years old, I was about to take the SAT for the first time in my life, and I didn't have trouble with the exam itself. I had another problem. I couldn't sleep the night before the exam, and then I would go to the exam and be fast asleep during the exam and fail, obviously. So eventually I told my dad to not tell me when the SAT is, and just wake me up on Saturday and say we're going to go take the SAT. Because I normally didn't have that much trouble sleeping. A little trouble, yeah, but never like, oh my God, what's going to happen tomorrow? Am I going to pass? Or how am I going to feel about the test or anything like that? And so my dad woke me up one Saturday and I went to take the SAT and I did very well. And unfortunately, I've never really corrected the problem. I've kind of compensated for it by, I'm going to get to how I did it. But I had the same problem a few years later when I was taking the GRE exam and the driving exam. Oh my God, for the driving exam, I wouldn't sleep, and then I would go to the driving exam and I would almost destroy the car. Luckily, the place I was taking it at, they had cars that the instructor had to brake himself, and he used it like crazy, and he was very upset at me. He was yelling at me, if I remember correctly, and he was yelling, "Did you know you could kill somebody?" And so once again, I told my dad to not tell me until the day of the exam, and then he'll wake me up and say, "We're going to go take the driving test," and I passed it. And I'll never forget the proctor saying, "Did you know you could kill somebody?" I'll never forget his voice when he said that. The problem is when I first moved to Washington State and I had to take the driving test, this was 6 years ago, I had almost the same problem. I couldn't sleep. Fortunately, somehow I passed the exam even without sleeping the night before, but it kind of scared me to death, especially because I remembered the proctor saying, "Did you know you could kill somebody?" I'll never forget his voice when he said that. But it turns out in my favor when I go to the computer game conferences. Though I live in Seattle, Washington. The conference is usually held in either Amsterdam or Taipei. And if I'm sitting at home thinking about going to the airport to fly to Amsterdam tomorrow, and I can't sleep, and then I go to the airport and I sleep on the flight, my time is perfect when I get to Amsterdam. I've done that a few times. Unfortunately, now that I want that to happen, I sleep perfectly the night before flying out. It's kind of funny how my body kind of opposes what I'm trying to do. Anyway, so I figured out a solution to this. The way I like to think about it is, what's the worst that can happen, right? Well, I guess for the driving test, yeah, I could have killed somebody, but for most things, it never gets that dramatic, right? I fail a test, I lose out on a job interview, I mess up a date, or whatever the case is, right? Very rarely does a situation like this call for a life or death event, right? The other thing I like to think about it is to try to live life one day at a time, and if that's too much, live it 5 minutes at a time, right? 5 minutes from now, what do I want to feel? I want to go to sleep, right? 5 minutes from now, I want to get up, I want to take a shower, I want to eat breakfast, and I want to go to the interview, drive there, make it there safely. If you can live 5 minutes at a time instead of, oh my God, tomorrow's interview, or next year, am I going to get that bonus that I was promised? It can become very overwhelming. When I first got my car, the car I'm driving right now, the Mitsubishi Lancer, I was really afraid of getting into a car accident, because not long before that one I had 2 major car accidents. And I would tell myself to make it one drive at a time. Every time I get behind the wheel and start the car, tell myself I'm just going to make this one trip without an accident. And when I get to my destination, I turn off the engine, congratulate myself that I made it the trip without an accident. The problem is that 2 years ago I was working at a tutoring center. It had a large parking lot, and we were told to park near the back of the lot if possible, so that the students and their parents could park closer. And one day I had gotten to the parking lot and I was congratulating myself. This was not long after I had bought the car. And as I was walking into the center, I was still congratulating myself, and then I heard loud braking noises. I almost got hit by a car. And it was actually one of the parents of the students that I was teaching. It was really embarrassing. And I made up the excuse that I was coming up with some lesson plans. It was bullshit, but it turned out very well. So it didn't turn too badly. But live it 5 minutes at a time. Don't worry about tomorrow. Think the worst case that could happen is not a big deal. It's never life or death, especially if you live in the first world. And just go to sleep. Thanks for watching.